Every system of control has one thing in common. It interrupts the ability to create a self. It's designed to get you to become what they want you to be. And the healing begins the moment you become willing to create a self anyway. Full on rebellion. And I hope you've been finding my series about these 8 criteria of thought reform useful in understanding the methods that may have been used on you and in your life in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but also in other systems of control. And if you haven't watched them and you're curious, I encourage you to go back and watch the previous 8 videos. But there's a few things that I wanted to clear up about my intentions behind this project. Robert Lifton, the author of Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism, he did his research with prisoners of the Korean War and Western civilizations that had been imprisoned in China and Maoist thought reform. His overall question that led his research was, what social and psychological conditions can shape a person's identity and worldview without necessarily using constant physical force? Otherwise, how can a system control the mind so that there's no need for any physical containers or guards at the gate? This isn't a checklist for labeling cults. They are patterns that evaluate the extent that a system pressures its people towards ideological conformity. And I wish it was taught in every educational form where true freedom is valued. I wish I learned these methods when I was younger, but it's so important for us to learn in the times that we're in. These techniques aren't modern. Many of them are ancient, and they are used in religion and politics, in forming empires and therapeutic settings and businesses and education systems and governments. I've just been explaining how they operate in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because that is the most vivid system that was used on me after being a faithful member of that religion for over 45 years. So Lifton emphasized that communities may use 1 or 2 of these criteria without being totalistic, but the LDS Church clearly uses all 8 criteria, and it's very engaged in thought reform. It is the primary system that shapes how a person thinks, how they interpret their reality, how they understand the world and themselves. It impacts their identity and it creates dependence on the group. It uses social and familial and emotional and environmental and existential pressure to get others to conform by exploiting their deepest human insecurities rather than using physical force. Basically, these strategies are used to construct a slave race of people who feel safer under its control than being truly free. These systems are used to harvest the most coveted form of energy in the universe, in my opinion, and that's the combined energy of the human mind and the elegant, intelligent body. And you, my magnificent friend, have both of those, and so you are a prized commodity. Now, in the series that I created, I use the word mind control, but I really want to clarify something. Mind control implies that the person no longer has a choice. And even if you're raised in a totalistic environment like I was, that attempts to regulate every aspect of a person's reality, like what they believe, how they interpret their emotions, how they interpret body cues, whom they can trust, what information is appropriate to consume, and how they define themselves. Even if you were raised in that environment, you still have the capacity for independent thought. And even though it's tremendously difficult to leave these systems, it's possible to free yourself and return your authority back to yourself and build a life on independent thought that is guided by your innate body wisdom. You can learn how to restore and enhance your connection to selfhood. You are well equipped to become whole, to recover your capacity to know what is true for you, to be self-governed, and to strengthen your capacity to ask, what do I actually know from my own lived experience? To challenge your existing beliefs and allow them to be fluid so that you can receive more light and knowledge or more evolutionary information. Consider your beliefs are not meant to be still and stagnant and trapped in books that are written by monarchs and power-driven men written thousands of years ago. Reclaiming the selfhood, it reactivates, and for some actually initiates for the first time, their creative life force energy. And when this happens, we naturally become more available to create, to love, to explore, to build, to authentically serve, to play, and to connect, and to explore different economic communities, to care for each other in new ways, and mostly to evolve, to grow, which I believe is our prime directive as human beings. You get to stop asking, who am I supposed to be accepted by them? And start asking yourself, what wants to emerge through me? What art, what beauty, what essence wants to come through me? And these are two very different questions. And finally, you can become impossible to manipulate when you're sourced from your own authority. That means that you must do the work to unlock any contempt against yourself that's been imposed on you by these control systems that feed you this idea that adds shame to your experience or causes you to believe that somehow you are insufficient or inferior to the divine that's in you. When you break away from a system that's defined your worth and your belonging and your access to love, they no longer hold leverage over you. Reestablishing your inner authority means your sense of value no longer depends on external approval or certainty or perfection or any institutional validation or meeting cultural expectations or seeking permission. That doesn't make you untouchable. It makes your relationships more voluntary, more authentic. And instead of asking, what do I need to do or who do I need to be so that I don't lose love? When you establish ownership, self-ownership, that love is sourced from within your own sustainable, renewable wellspring from within. And instead you begin asking a very different question. And that question is, what's true for me? Even if it costs me approval. Consider that the dormant codes that can teach us to live in harmony together are activated within us when we release ourselves from these systems of control and allow their internal structures to collapse from within. The codes for living in harmony are already within us. They just haven't been modeled for us very well in the dominating culture that we were born in. You get to give yourself the right to create a self without the pressure of systems that seem to exploit our deepest human insecurities and inherited patterns. You get to be you by challenging the systems that our parents were never able to challenge because they didn't have access to the framework or the language to describe the tactics that were being used on them. You get direct access to be sourced from your unique divine blueprint. And that's what I call direct divine access, which happens to be the name of my upcoming retreats that I'm going to be doing starting this fall and throughout all of 2027. So if this interests you, stay tuned for more details. Follow me. Reach out if you're ready to upgrade your connection to your organic body cues and return ownership to your own mind-body connection so you can become the creator you're designed to be, to live free and self-guided in communities that are breaking away from thought reform systems and rapidly embracing self-love and sovereignty.